This conference will now be recorded.
Just what it is, you know. I mean, good job, Cal. Oh yeah.
Just had one from the picture, and it's still right here.
20 feet. Yeah, exactly. Young and dumb. I know where he's living. We'll take care of him. Hell, it's just neat to see that stuff. It's just neat to see that stuff. Hell, that's what I like. Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Miss Warren, ready down there? Very good. I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting to order. As always, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt an agenda. Anybody have anything we need to add to the agenda this afternoon? Ms. Warren, anything to add?
No, sir.
What'd y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As always, let's start with public comment. Public comment. I don't know.
Eleanor Montgomery, Malvern. I want to thank the board for doing, both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors for doing your due diligence and your homework when it came to the solar panel yard, farm, whatever it's called. I'm not sure that the county planner did. Thank you.
All right, other public comment. Other public comment. Other public comment. All right, we're gonna do it, I guess, at least three more times this afternoon. All right, constitutional officers, departments, agencies, and committees. Jerry, why don't you start? Yeah, that'll be fine. I don't think it's working.
I don't need a microphone, no way.
It's working.
Madison Day was a huge success. Thanks to Troy Coppage and Karen Coppage for organizing. We had 200 to 300 Woodbury faculty and staff and students there spreading mulch over all the trails, pouring 18 yards of concrete, 18 tee boxes for the Frisbee golf course, and for putting up signposts for new signage in the whole park. Thanks to Woodbury for funding these projects. Also, thanks to Weaver Works, Jesse Lynch, and Clay Jackson for bringing tractors and skid steers to move the concrete. Allied Concrete for waiving the Saturday opening fee of $1,500. And to everyone that let us borrow wheelbarrows, rakes, and pitchforks and other hand tools, we really appreciate it and thank you for doing that. Our next big events is May 20th is Tour de Madison. Our first Music in the Park is with Crawford and Power. On June 3rd, they have opened for Alabama, Willie Nelson, Travis Tritt, and numerous other country music acts. And our summer camp is 95% full. On availability is only in the first and last week. So,
Good.
Questions?
Any questions for Jerry at Parks and Rec? All right. Ligon, you want to come grab this thing, or Jerry pass it on back?
Yeah, I'll just give an update. So just to look forward to our, I know it seems like we just got out of a meeting
Yeah.
just a few hours ago. Just to look forward to June, we will have 3 public hearings scheduled. We are Pathwork Center, you might recall, on Seville Road, has a contract to purchase, and the current owners are selling to Chris Von Etlin. He's a doctor. It is to convert the facility to a substance abuse day treatment facility. I'm actually going out there tomorrow to meet with him, walk around the site to get an idea of how they will use it. I think if you looked at the ad, I think it's fairly descriptive, but we'll get more information on that. The second one will be Madison County Board of Supervisors, and this is for the Motorola, the cell tower, wireless communication facility in Etlin. And then the last one, we're still working on Louth Callan for the solar, commercial solar facility. A lot of moving parts for that. And, anyone who's followed this, we have agendas, we post packets, everything's out there for the public to see, so there's no secret, but of course, I kind of realize how this business works. Sometimes the messenger does take some of the heat, and that's no problem. That's a lot of work I'm in. So those will be 3 probably pretty big hearings coming up in June. Fortunately, after that, we probably going to slow down a little bit. I think we'll all probably feel a little happy with that. So nothing major is on the horizon after that, other than continue to work on the comp plan. So, other than that, that's all I have. Any questions?
Which we have a meeting on Thursday for the comp plan?
Yeah, Thursday will be our monthly comp plan meeting, which, again, everyone's welcome to come, attend. We do try to broadcast everyone online. People that want to watch or go back and watch, that's fine too.
Any questions for Ligon?
Well, I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that all 3 of those applications that Ligon just laid out for hearings in June with the board will go through a planning commission workshop on the 17th, May 17th at 6:30.
That's right.
Thank you, Ligon.
Okay, yep.
Take it with you. Sheriff? Yeah, we're going to go back to Celine.
Good afternoon, everyone. A couple quick things. We had about 15 to 20 people working at our house this past weekend down Rochelle School Lane. Shout out to Richard's Towing and also to David McMullen providing us and Todd Sharp for chipper. It was a complete turnaround at the house residents. 3 people in school. They'll be graduating in 2 weeks, so hopefully we'll be full staff by July 1. And I keep bringing this up to you. Hopefully we can do something about it. Monday night, we had a transport, a mental subject. Take a guess where we had to go. Bristol, Virginia. So if we can contact our people in Culpeper at the CIT Center, it's becoming it's a 10-hour trip, 2 people. Bristol, Lebanon, and Galat. That's where we're traveling right now to take all our mental health people. So I hope you can pass your
We will.
on to it. Thank you.
Questions for the sheriff? All right, there you go. Give it, Celine, how's social services?
Thank you. Valerie apologizes. She has a conflict with a board that she sits on. Our biggest update these days is that, as you may have heard, we had a lot of things happening during COVID that have recently ended. So a lot of people who received financial assistance that was badly needed, it's been cut quite a bit. So to use the example maybe of an elderly person in Madison County who has met their obligations in life and paid off their house and their car, but they're running short for food and money at the end of the month. During COVID, for about 3 years, they got maybe around $250 a month, and now they're getting, some of them, about $50 a month or less. So as you can imagine, that doesn't do much to feed them. So we have lots of other good resources here in town. The Mesa Food Pantry is a great pantry, and there are drive-through pantries, but right now there are a lot of people who are facing quite a bit of hardship. So we're doing what we can to work with others in the community, especially these drive-through pantries, with new ones opening up to try and get everyone in Madison County to be at least food secure. So that's what's happening.
Questions for Celine? Gavin?
Good evening. Not much has changed since the report last month. We're still waiting to hear back for the shelter upgrade grant. That's for the generator. It was initially supposed to have been announced one way or the other by March 30th, but it is delayed. I did verify that as recently as yesterday. SHSP grant, the 2023 SHSP grant, it's still waiting for that to be formally announced. The workshops have happened. The training's been done at the regional level. Hopefully we'll get all the information from BDEM shortly once they release that. That's the grant that's really centered towards terrorism and preventing terrorism mitigation, things like that. So there'll be plenty of opportunities within the county for different grants. We could put in for as many grants as we want. The only restriction is they're a minimum of $10,000 each, but there's national priorities that are established. So we got to stick towards those, and you have a better chance of being selected. And they're 100% grant too, so there's nothing out of our own pocket. And talking to Mr. Gordon at 911, we're kicking around some ideas on some things that we might be able to get funded there that we weren't able to do initially. So as long as there's a nexus with the cyber terrorism or terrorism in general on that. Other than that, we had the REC Get Connected event. It was a good event, safe event. Probably wasn't attended to the same volume as they anticipated. Don't have the number on that, but it was a good opportunity to meet them, see what they do, and for them to meet some of our citizens and their customers. Had Air Care come in, and that was a big draw too. Actually, it was perfect. They came in as the national anthem was playing, so they had their flyover. And the CEO was there, and he was very appreciative, and they're going to look for ways to help support some of our items that we want to accomplish in the county too. So, and last thing coming up, we have the Tractors Bowl coming up this weekend, and EMS, law enforcement, and fire all be present out there. And that's all I have.
What are we getting for the anti-terrorism grant?
Right now, I've not put in for anything on that, but you can put in for a lot of different things. Like, one thing that I'm kind of researching right now would be the message boards, message signs for controlling traffic and traffic flow, getting information out to the public. We typically, in talking to the sheriff and what have you, we get those from VDOT, but there's only a certain amount of times a year that you can get those. So if we can get something like that under grant, then we'd have a bank of those in the county that everybody can use and go from there. It could be as simple as jersey barriers or things like that to protect our parades and our street festivals. It could be cybersecurity, so working with Bruce and them, if there's some items there that they're looking at too. So, denial of service stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different things that are out there, and then there's training too that goes into it and mitigation to go from there. So, there's a lot of different ways you can go. Unfortunately, Sheriff, they're not covering the armored vehicles anymore.
Yeah, we don't need a tank.
I'm sorry, I tried. But that's all I have.
Anybody else got any questions for Gavin? All right, Noah?
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. April was busy, 169 calls. 10 minutes was our response time. Continuing to support Green, trying to do our best with the other surrounding jurisdictions with mutual aid. I'd like to extend a thank you to Supervisor Dawson for your assistance with an electrical outlet change and a microwave installation that saved from having to pay somebody, and is appreciated. Thank you. We are in the process of recruiting one EMS lieutenant to replace Lieutenant Carpenter's position, and otherwise full staffed. We're doing a good job with recruiting part-time help, and the idea there is to help cover standby, reduce overtime, et cetera. Charles Fridley is our newest hire. He accepted a full-time paramedic position with us, and we're excited to have him on board. EMS standby events, so we provided standby coverage for the Hare Scramble at Grace Mountain and 2 Woodbury Forest events in April. Peer support team, just want to recognize them and Pastor Duggins. I'm sure you all have heard about the motorcycle crash that occurred. I just want to bring it to your attention because they truly helped. They helped the team. So the mental health app, the group, everything, it helped our first responder team. And then finally, EMS week is May 21st through 27th. That's just to recognize the folks that do the work, volunteer and do the work. So that's all I got.
Anybody have questions for Noah? No, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Livingston, you IT in it?
Every day.
That's the way to be.
Loving it. Well, we've been using the new ticketing system now for about over a month and a week or two. And we've had 196 tickets. And I'm sure we've missed a few. So those tickets are all in either they're closed or in progress or waiting in the queue at this point. Hopefully next month we can add a report if anybody wants to see any, like details other than the 196 tickets. If you want to know exactly what, the kind of things we're working on each day, then it's available anytime you want to see. Come on in, we can show you, and we can actually enter that into the record for next month. I just didn't have time to get it done today. Tyler, still working on, we get curveballs from them. Neither Alan nor myself are SQL database administrators, but we're becoming them. So you might not know what that is, but it's basically industry standard database that's used by Tyler, and they just send us stuff that we like, things we've never done, so it's pretty cool. But it's going good. Between that and the Unitranche server, I expect us to be rolling out Laserfish and be ready within the next couple weeks, I would say, to start that. I don't know, Jennifer and Michelle may know more about what's going on as far as getting zoning into Tyler, and Treasury folks are using it. They've tested their API, the connection between Tyler and Avinity, and that's all working good. So we're really getting close to fruition here. It's been a couple years, but we're about to cross the finish line on that. Well, tomorrow this building will have a network outage between 11:45 and 1 o'clock because we're replacing a couple of network switches in the closet in this building that got damaged months ago. But due to the supply chain problem, we've had to wait for them to get in here and limp along on some old spares. But that's going to happen tomorrow. We have actually started running data. If I haven't told you, if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But we ran one data run down in the EMS department. That saved us $325 per run. And we're going to start running. We got a couple more we're running up here in the conference room. Onesie twosies, things like that come in now. We got all the stuff that we need to start running those data cables. And each time we run a cable, we save $325 for the citizens of Madison County. It just got to the point to where it's like I can't do it. I can't call them in here and say run one cable and you're going to charge us $325. Even if I get you to run two at the same time, you're going to charge me $325 per cable. It's gotten outrageous. So we've brought that in-house. The make ready work. The email I read today from the REC folks to get the fiber ran down here, they say that it's any day now, they will be done with basically getting the poles ready for the fiber. And we're sitting here pounced and ready, biting on the bit to just get going. But we got to wait for REC to give us the final go-ahead. That also is really close.
Does that include the Commonwealth Attorney's Office?
That's a
That's a-
different beast.
Yeah, that's one pole. Yeah.
But that's a Verizon pole.
There you go.
So the pole on this side of the street is REC. We've certainly, cracked the ice with them, and they're working with us, and they're on it. Verizon, honestly, I gotta talk to Jonathan to find out, because he's the one that hammers those folks, I think every other day or whatever, somebody. But for some reason, Verizon just, I said, I would love to come in here in the middle of the night, when the sheriff didn't see us, and just run that cable anyway, and then apologize for it later.
That is a workaround.
But they just take forever. I mean, forever. There's some website updates, but I'm going to let the website administrator, Mr. Alan Berry, handle that. Anybody got any more questions for me before I do that?
Anybody have any questions for Livingston? Very good. Let's talk website real quick. Alan?
Mr. Berry.
Good. Thank you.
Hello, members of the board. So just quick overview of where our website stands right now. We had our design content meeting with Civic Plus today. So right now, we have a bare bones version of our website up and running. It's not available for the general public yet, because there's really nothing on it. It's just a pretty homepage at this point, essentially. But 1 month and around a week and a half from today, we will have a fully functioning new website up and available. And the week before that, we should have training for all department heads and anyone else who will be interacting with the website complete as well. So it's going to be, everyone knows how to use it. Everyone's going to be familiar with it. It's going to be beautiful. And the other thing is CCTV installation over at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office has been completed. We're just doing some minor finishing touches on that, getting the app working for them, and I think that's about it.
How long have you been working on this website?
I think we got approved last October, and
Huh.
it's just been a constant mishmash of this is what we want, talking to department heads, sending it over to Civic Plus. And we had a mood board conversation last month about the colors of the website. It's all over the place. Sometimes it's very important, sometimes it's pretty artful colors.
I don't know what that means. All right.
The pictures for the website were provided via public domain by our esteemed IT director, Bruce Livingston.
Well, as long as he's esteemed.
He has
Thank
signed
you.
away all rights for those pictures.
That's good. Anybody have any questions for Alan? All right. Why don't we come around to Tracy? Doesn't seem that long on the website.
No.
All right. Moving right along. Yeah, normally it takes years.
Well, happy Travel and Tourism Week. I apologize for not being here at the joint meeting last week. I was on vacation, but I did have the fun of watching it on YouTube Saturday night. So, did
That's all
that.
right.
A lot of fun.
Exciting. No.
Very. And nice to see Ms. Long here. Appreciate you helping out. What I have to tell you guys, May 16th, that's the Lions Club dinner as well. Where they're recognizing Man, Coppage, and Faye Oops. And it's also open house at Salsa Street and Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters that night as well. Business Appreciation Dinner, May 22nd. The expo is the 25th. And ribbon cutting at Sheer Perfection Beauty Bar is the 27th. So, on that note, and I apologize to Ligon for not being here to take some of the brunt of some of the comments, I have to say that I was happy to see that Mr. Helmy's project got put through, because it literally does check every box I've heard for the last decade, including from Ed McMahon, who we brought in 2014. So agritourism is our niche, and we don't really want a Walmart, as we all know, so we got to get the money somehow. As far as losing some traveler spending to Culpeper and Orange, yes, but not as much when they have a restaurant, and we definitely need another restaurant. It's a clean industry. 99% of these people will drive much slower than any residents here. They will also be better stewards of the land as well. And for a lot of them, that will be their destination. You probably won't hear a thing out of them. So I was very happy about that. And I'm also, I know I've already said this too, but very in favor of the project at 7 Oaks too. Definitely, retreat center. Even though I do hate to lose pot funds for that. But, and on that note, for Ed McMahon, and we're not talking Johnny Carson, the TED Talk, Where Am I? The Power of Uniqueness, highly recommended. I don't even know if that went back as far as 2014 or not, but many years in economics and highly recommended. And he was here for our economic summit that we did for the region. So that's really all I have to say. We didn't actually come to the April 11th one. So the only other things I had on there were meeting with Jason Smith from the Virginia Economic Development Partnership regarding economic gardening. So we do have some businesses that are interested in doing that. We'll be working with him. And normal VDOT permits for the parade, festivals, already promoting everything. The Small Business Development Center has a lot of seminars going on, so we'll get those out as fast as we can. Some of you may know Connie Ayler's mom has, cancer has kind of spread, so she's coming in sort of limited, so I'm kind of by myself most of the time right now, but we'll get it all done.
Questions for Tracy? Seems like May has got a lot of different month things going on. You got EMS month, it's old folks month, we're doing travel and
Nurses
tourism week.
Nurses Week is this week too.
I mean, there's another one we're missing too. Well, it's
Well,
Yeah.
all right. That seems reasonable.
Give local today as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Law Enforcement Week trumps that. Yeah, May's an active time. All right, any questions for Tracy? All right, Ms. Warren?
Finance has been super busy with budget. After the approval of the budget, we did prepare the budget book, and we'll be sending out to department heads and outside agencies copies of the final approved budget. And we've also been busy with the HR payroll implementation in Munis, which is phase 2 of Tyler Munis. And Tilly Struthers and myself have been working with the Tyler implementers, and we are in a good state, and we are still projected to go live January 1. So we're getting all of the information in the system, and then on the phase 3 building side, Jonathan Weekly, Mr. Weekly is spearheading that with Tyler. Still projected to be live on January 1.
Questions for Ms. Warren? All right. I think we've hit everybody. We do have a consent agenda. We have minutes from 4:25:23 and then 5:03:23. Anybody have corrections, comments, thoughts? What do you all want to do with the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, we have two special appearances this evening. Mr. Broman and Mr. Ballard are here representing the Blue Ridge Committee and going to give us a little report on what's going on with Shenandoah National Park and then also with the Old Rag pilot program. Thank you all for coming.
Before I get into that, my name is Bruce Bowman. I serve on the Blue Ridge Committee for Shenandoah Park Relations. And Jim Ballard is on the committee, and Corey Yell is the Board of Supervisors representative. We meet with the superintendent in October and again in May, twice a year. And that's all. There's no one.
Yeah, we're not very good.
Right, is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Anyway, we meet twice a year, and we're here to, there are 8 counties surrounding the park that are represented. And we're on the committee to watch out for Madison County, make sure we have a good line of communication with the park. The committee suffered during the COVID. We met one time as a Zoom meeting, and it didn't go over very well, like there's a lot of Zoom meetings, but we had a live meeting back in October in Stanardsville. So we reorganized, ready to go. Next week, May the 18th, we'll be going up to Big Meadows to meet with the superintendent and the reps from the other counties. So one question I've got for the Board of Supervisors, if you have any concerns or any information you want to deliver to the superintendent, to the park. By the way, the park does not have a vote. If we vote, it's the 8 counties that are telling the park how we feel. So we're not being dominated by the Shenandoah National Park. So if you have any concerns, make sure you let Cardi or Jim or myself know.
It looks like Mr. Kinney is going to come talk to us on the 23rd, too.
Yeah, so if you have specific questions about this pilot program on Old Rag, it'd be a good time to pin him down on that. So I was, okay, so anyway, what you had asked us to do is to talk about the Old Rag pilot program, which went from, started March 1st, 22, and went until November 30th, 22. And what they did, they counted, had people up there counting the number of hikers. Before you could hike Old Rag, you had to go online and buy a permit, $1 for the permit. They sold 95,400 and some permits. That's a good chunk of change.
Good Lord.
But they only counted 86,000 hikers. So some people decided not to go, maybe inclement weather or things interfere, but out of all those days, 275 days, there were only 20 of those days. The maximum number would be 800. There were only 20 of those days that they had 800 people. So less impact on the trail, less crowd. The last time I walked Old Rag was November 2019. I got a case of road rage on Old Rag Mountain. It was just crowded. The rock scramble, what they call the chute, you had to stand there in line for at least 20 minutes to get through that. Years ago, I'm sure Cardi and some of you folks from Madison County, we could go up there on an afternoon and hike Old Rag 20 years ago, and you'd have it all to yourself. So it's become a very popular hike. This particular program will probably be adopted in other national parks, maybe other trails in the Shenandoah. So the question is what it's going to do for Madison County. And I think the people that live on the Nethers Road will tell you that fewer people, fewer cars, that's been a big plus. The new parking lot up there, I think, what is it, 150 cars? So they no longer have to park a mile down the road and walk up the state road. So it's much safer. So beyond that, it's a great positive thing, I think. And I think it would be up to Madison Board of Supervisors. Right now, there's a public comment period until May 16th. You can go online and you can register your comments, and most of the comments I've been seeing are very positive. So I don't see it's kind of a no-brainer.
I mean, having to buy a permit should be something that we hear complaints about. I have not heard any complaints at all about it, and very little comments, so it must be kind of going over very easily.
Yeah.
Is that?
When I came off the mountain in November 2019, that was just before the COVID, they had a private company called Gaia, and 3 beautiful young ladies sitting there taking a survey, a user satisfaction survey. And I think they got some really comments about it being overcrowded. It was not that's designated wilderness up there. It's not a wilderness experience. You might as well go to Rock Creek Park in D.C. and hike, you know. So I think it's a good thing. And I don't know whether it would be appropriate for something from the Board of Supervisors to make sure that they know we're in favor of it.
I mean, is anybody hearing any complaints at all? I mean, I'm
well, I am on Emmett Road quite a bit, and people take wrong turns and end up on Emmett Road, and they stop and ask me if they're headed in the right direction. And I take every opportunity to say, so have you got a ticket? Yeah, we've got a ticket. Every one of them has said over the last year, they got a ticket. I said, so how was that? Is that a problem with you? No, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
I have not heard one complaint, and I have talked to dozens of people. So
And
I'm
that's been
glad to
my
hear it because
experience too,
the
yes.
mountain was getting trampled.
And there are other people, like, Dark Hollow Falls. I mean, that is just a mess now. It's just one person after another.
Yeah.
It's all worn out. And you guys, do you have any
Yeah,
questions
maybe.
or?
We can emphasize to Mr. Kinney, and we'll see about draft. Does anybody have any trouble drafting anything? We can get something together.
When's the
and go from there.
comment period
It
go
ends
through?
May the 16th.
Let's see if we can
And
get
if you
something.
go
drafted.
online, Shenandoah National Park, ORAD pilot program, it'll give you a website, a web address to,
So our meeting up at Big Meadows is on the 18th.
Yeah.
Should we take it with us and present it that
it might
night?
be a good idea, just something you can present
Maybe,
to
If
us.
y'all want to do that, we'll get Jonathan to draft something and go from there.
Yeah, our new superintendent, Pat Kenny's just a great fellow. Just, he's very easy to get along with. So-
Can we get him loosened up a little?
I'm sorry?
He's pretty quiet for the most part.
Yeah, he's not a big talker like
Yeah.
Jed Northrup or Martha Bogle or some of the previous superintendents.
The only question I've got for the park is, and it's just because we've been going through it as a county, how's their emergency service upgrade going? And I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I do think that's
I
kind
do
of an
not know,
important one.
and Noah may know more than I would about that, but that would be a good question to ask at the meeting next week. And he will be here, what is the 23rd?
Yes, sir.
May 23rd, so, yeah, that'd be a good question to ask, and that's going to be a state of the park address.
Yeah.
And Jim or I will be here to host him on that too, so.
Great.
Yeah, anyway.
Anybody else?
Jim, do you have anything you want to add? Okay,
Anybody have it, please? One question. Yes, sir.
all right.
Mr. Bowman, just one question, and I don't know whether you can answer this or not, but what is the park doing with that $95,000? Is that going back into upgrades?
I'm sure part of it is, administrative costs. But, yeah, that'd be another good question to ask Mr. Kenny. Yeah.
Anybody else? Gentlemen, thank you all for
All right,
coming.
thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll get a letter together. All right, now we're gonna do Rappahannock Rapidan Regional Commission, the PIT report, which is by Rebecca Wehrman. Ms. Wehrman?
I don't know if I need a microphone.
No, if you use that one, yes, ma'am. It's more for the online stuff.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm just gonna hand this and it can just go around to you. I wasn't sure what the setup in here was. Okay, great. So it's up there. The point in time count, if you are unaware, most people don't know necessarily what it is because most people don't participate in it. By the way, sorry, I'm Rebecca Wareham. I'm the Continuum of Care Program Coordinator. Oh, it's on the other side? I'm sorry. Yeah. I work for the Regional Commission, but I manage Foothills Housing Network. And so some of you may have called at one point and gotten services, or some of you may have forwarded people to get services. It's called coordinated entry. And so people call in and they can be screened to see if they're eligible for certain rental assistance, emergency shelter, things like that. And part of us receiving money from HUD is that we say we will participate in the annual point in time count. And the point in time count is basically just an unduplicated number of individuals experiencing homelessness. It is based off of one night a year, and it can go for about 10 days after. So this most recent one was January 26th. And we were able to survey people and ask them where they slept the night of the 26th for 10 days after. So that's what that means. And that's where the numbers have come from. So as you see, the Foothills Housing Network represents, we provide services to Madison, Orange, Rappahannock, Culpeper, and Fauquier. And so the total for our 5-county region this year was 275 individuals experiencing homelessness. And you see the adult and youth and child breakdown. And then there's the household breakdown. So that's when you're talking about children or people who are married but don't have children with them, things like that. This is another increase for our region. Our region has continued to increase for the last 6 years. And we are part of, that's okay, that's okay. We are part of a group of rural communities in the state or in the Commonwealth that each, we have 5 counties, and then there's some others like the Eastern Neck and things like that, Northern Neck and Eastern Shore, and they're in their own communities. Our community has been the highest community for the last 4 years of those 12 rural communities. We're also the northernmost, and so that does have quite a bit, I think, of, quite a bit of a to do with it, but I also think it's the housing prices and rental prices, particularly after COVID. I think a lot of landlords are trying to reap back a lot of what they lost, maybe, and so they've increased. We've seen increases of 60% and 70% in some rentals. The bottom of this, the next slide shows the annual count going for since 2018, and you're able to see what the various increases are. Unsheltered children and children have tended to be the ones who have remained, pretty consistent. But this year we did have an increase. Last year we had a decrease, and we thought that maybe something was happening. We were doing something right, as far as children, and then they spiked back up again. And it is children who are school-aged. That's the highest population. And when you think about that, there are funds through the McKinney-Vento Act, and every county, has a representative. I don't remember his last name. Drew.
Eames?
Thank you. Drew Eames. He is the McKinney-Vento representative for Madison County. Is that still correct? Okay. And he's great, and he does what he can with what he has, but there's a lot of other money attached to McKinney-Vento, the McKinney-Vento Act, that your county could grab from to help pay for putting people up in a motel for, a few nights, or paying for groceries. Culpeper County had submitted a grant and has been using it the last year and has really successfully supported about 63 students in the last year. And I'm sure Dr. Hawk would be, more than happy to share any information about that grant. On the next slide, it actually shows children and kind of how we've gone. As I said, we witnessed the decline, but then we did increase. And on the next slide is the unsheltered individuals since 2018. Unsheltered means basically outside, so on the street, in a tent, in vehicles, abandoned buildings, sheds, anything like that. As you can imagine, obviously, I worked for Madison County DSS for several years and had the pleasure of driving around this entire county, and it's absolutely gorgeous, but there's a lot of places for people to be. And so when we look at the unsheltered individuals, you can imagine in a very rural area, people are able to get into pockets that they'll never be seen if they want to stay there and they're good, So the outreach is difficult, especially when it's Madison DSS, who is our partner that goes and surveys people on the day of the pit count. It's Celine, actually, is the one who does it, and this year she kind of went beyond, and she went to Mesa, and she went to other places. Do you want to say anything about your experience?
Yeah, sometimes I think the ones in Madison are a little invisible, but not to the people who work in emergency services. And while we don't have kids on the street, we do have homeless children because there's a lot of families doubled up. So we're good, I think, in an individual sense of trying to help. But I know I've talked to people who said I didn't know we had homeless people in Madison.
And, I can't say enough for Madison DSS, because for such a small county, the buy-in to help support and do what's necessary for the citizens of Madison County is huge when it comes to housing. Whether it's, we can only help up to a certain amount, and so they find some special fund that they can pull it from and are able to do the rest. So Madison DSS is, a consummate, partner for us. Next slide, please. So this is just showing the racial disparity in our regional homelessness, that in general, for our 5 counties, the population of minorities is probably 14%. However, the people who are seeking services, that makes up, the minorities make up about 40%. And so we are trying to, we are looking at, we're looking at policies, we're looking at procedures, the way we do things, just to see if there's anything that we can do on maybe the prevention side before they have to enter the system, and what it is that's causing that.
What's AA?
African American.
Okay.
Next slide, please. And this is talking about our veteran homelessness. As you see, there's been a steady increase over the years in that as well. I don't think, I've worked in Richmond and Fredericksburg as well, and the number of homeless veterans in our area is just very surprising to me. 18 of the 25 veterans that experienced homelessness during this pit count were unsheltered. So they were just figuring it out. Next slide, please. So this was Culpepper's individual results. They are generally higher, closer to like 120, 125. But we had an agency that was unable to participate this year, and it kind of took away. Next slide. Fauquier, And Fauquier, obviously, this number balloons kind of. However, Fauquier also has a 55-bed emergency shelter. And it is a higher barrier and a little more difficult to get into. So it's usually families that are able to get in there as opposed to many singles. Next slide, please. Orange County and the town of Orange, they had an increase, just like Madison did. However, a lot of the increase, when we're talking about the smaller counties, like Orange and Madison, is due to participation from partners. So Celine did a lot more this year. You know, she really went out and tried to find people. That could be a reason why Madison's number increased from last year. It may not be that there are more, you know, that many more, but there likely are. And the same was with Orange. They actually held a free meal sponsored by a local restaurant, and just invited people that needed it to come, and it was really good. Next slide, please. All right, so here's Madison, and you had 14, and that's of that 10-day period. 9 were unsheltered, and 5 were with family and friends. Next slide, please. Excuse me. So I know this is a little small, but this is the information, and this, thank you very much. This is the information from our survey. So we asked these questions of individuals. So when Celine was going around, she was, you know, she had to ask each person, you know, this packet of questions. And in Madison, 7 of the 14 individuals said this was their first time experiencing homelessness. And then we have the primary reason for homelessness. And next slide, please. Here we have a little more information. People who were fleeing violence, whether the people were on Social Security or disability, things like that. And then also whether if they have a disability, whether that disability limits their abilities. Next slide, please. So some of our takeaways from this year is that the increases were in unsheltered individuals, individuals over the age of 60, unaccompanied 18 to 24-year-olds. What that means is that's the group that they're not with a unit. They're not with a household. Veterans and school-age children. Decreases, we had decreases in the amount of children under the age of 5, but like I said, you know, it was a big increase for the school-age children. There were, oh, sorry, next slide, please. These are some of the services that we were able to provide last year. We had almost 5,500 phone calls, and we have 1 full-time staff and 1 very part-time staff member. So, and every single one of those people was, you know, the attempt was made to get back in touch with them, I can guarantee it. We made referrals and for rapid rehousing, which is if you're literally homeless, getting you into something as quickly as possible. And then targeted prevention, trying to either, if the eviction's already gone through, trying to just, get you into a new place, or if you are still in your unit, trying to keep you in that unit. Then we were able to avoid about 1,000 people entering homelessness through diversion efforts. And that is a lot of problem-solving conversations, and it's just constant communication. Really, basically asking the exact same questions every single time they're calling, to get down to who have you tried, in your support network, and I know you don't talk to your mom, but have you reached out, and things like that, because it can be the catch, to keep somebody from becoming homeless. Next slide, please. Our region last year provided almost 100,000 nights of emergency shelter. And we also provided 121 people with rapid rehousing funds and 124 individuals with prevention funds. Next slide, please. This just kind of talks about some of our partnerships in the Foothills region. Last year, and this is just kind of documented, I don't know if there were others, but 27 was the number of documented instances foster care or institutionalization was avoided because a report had been made that they were homeless. And we were able to get them into some sort of emergency housing and avoid that. 19 victims left a violent home only after learning they could bring their pet along. SAFE has services to abused families, has one of their locations where people can bring pets. And a lot of times that pets keep people in bad situations because the pet becomes, the thing that is the constant, and it's, that's where the love goes, and that's, where I get my comfort from, and you want me to give it up, so it's a very good service they provide. And I don't know if any of you had heard about, but when COVID occurred, the federal government released emergency housing vouchers, and our region received some of the most vouchers in many regions, and 15 of those vouchers went to residents of Madison County. However, 10 had to leave Madison County to use the voucher. Because either a landlord wouldn't take it, which right now is not legal anymore, but either a landlord wouldn't take it, or the cost was so much higher than the voucher would cover. And the last slide just kind of talks about who can join the network, but we also have a landlord partnership program where we offer incentives to landlords who are willing to rent their units to individuals who are formerly homeless. And so there's like a first lease signing incentive, and then sometimes it can be, well, I don't know that I trust having this individual in my place. Well, what if we gave you a double deposit or something like that? But that's all I have, and if there's any questions, I can answer them, but I thank you for letting me present.
Who has questions? Please. I see you do.
Yeah, I got one.
I'm done now.
Ms. Wareham, I guess just a couple of questions related to this that you hear in the national conversation. But with regard to the folks that are suffering from substance abuse or mental illness, Do you find a general lack of services in this area to be a problem for those individuals? And do you often run into cases where the individuals would refuse treatment or care?
Yes.
Okay, just, thank you.
I probably don't need to expound, you know, it's kind of, it's just it's unfortunate, but it's part of the disease, you know.
Marty?
Yeah, so, Ms. Warren, so there's no question that, you know, having a roof over your head provides a stability to go on with the rest of your life, right? Kids in school and work. Does Foothills Housing Network or RRC do any case management? If you get some folks in a place, you know, you see the housing vouchers, do you also help them find a job or make sure their kids are going to school and all that kind of stuff too? I mean, the whole point of vouchers is to get people stable and on their feet and move on. So where does that help come from?
Right. And that, I mean, that's a fantastic question. It's, the answer is very layered because certain agencies do things certain ways. So the emergency housing vouchers came with a little bit of money from the federal government for supportive services. And RRCS is
Right.
is the holder of the voucher program. And so that means that those supportive services are through their support coordinators. If you need
You're
them.
talking about the Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Correct.
So they're the holder for Culpeper County.
For
I
the
think,
whole region.
well, I know Skyline Cap has the program going with them as well.
Yeah, some of them overlap. And so RRCS has all the 5 counties.
Mhm.
And then Skyline may have 5 counties, but one of them is also Madison. And then Fredericksburg also has Culpeper, so they do overlap a little bit.
Okay, so Skyline Cap should be working with the Community Services Board and
They
collaborate
could-
with them?
Skyline Cap is a little luckier in that they could work with anybody. They could maybe do an MOU or a contract with like Chrysalis or something like, or another, you know, agency to provide the services because they don't have them in-house, like the Community Services Board does.
Okay.
But the thing is, it kind of goes back to Mr. Jewett's question about not being, you can't force them to participate in any of those services.
Right, and Mr. LaGraff has told us before how they are trying to mitigate that issue with people having reservations about coming in. One more question, could you spell the McKinney-Vento Act?
I sure can.
What is that?
It's
Kim-
M, small c, capital K, INNEY, dash VENTO. Act.
Okay. Yeah, I was close. All right.
Anybody else have questions? I gotta ask, Simon, you have comments on this?
No, I mean, it's a little bit different than emergency services for homelessness. I think it's the difference in the doctors, if you will, it's a different actual service than our vouchers are not necessarily for those who are homeless. They could be, not in particular given for that exact purpose which RRCs are. And I think they have the entry with all the mental health services that they provide to see those folks more than what we do. Those that we see come in solely for housing, though they could be homeless, but it doesn't combine with all the other issues that we see in the community that RSCS is dealing with.
Celine, you have anything to add? Anybody else? Ms. Wehrman, thank you. Yes, ma'am. All right. All right, Ms. Shepherd's here. Welcome. Fiscal year 2024 to 2029 secondary six-year road improvement, road plan. Ms. Shepherd, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before we get into the secondary six-year plan, I was under the impression that I was also going to speak on the quarterly presentation.
Sure.
It's up to you if you'd like me to do that.
Why don't we do the quarterly real quick, and then let's do the six-year plan.
Great, okay. Quarterly presentation should be pretty short this time. So starting off with our preliminary engineering report, the project at Shelby, the R cut on 29, is still moving forward. It's in right-of-way right now. We've had to extend the add date a couple months due to the right-of-way negotiations, but we expect that to be October of 2023 now. Route 29 business, the sidewalk in the town and the on the southern side is in preliminary engineering right now. Next is scoping, and then add date's a couple years out still. It's May 2026. Next on our list, Route 707, the Nethers Road Bridge replacement. That is about to be under construction. We're working on getting the final materials, and then it will be under construction at the end of May, with construction expected to be complete in mid-October. That will have a temporary crossing right at the bridge, so there will not be an extensive detour. So it should be minimal impacts. And then the next two bridge replacement projects, we have Route 707, Pine Hill Road Bridge Replacement, and Route 749, Moon Road Bridge Replacement. Those are also a couple years out, still working through the process, and we're looking at a January and May 2025 add date. If those accelerate, of course, I will let you know.
Where's Moon Road? Is it
The Moon,
Yeah.
it's just past Nethers.
Are
There's
they
a sharp
replacing all the
curve.
bridges in Nethers
Yeah,
and Etland? Or?
well, yeah, that would be one of my questions for Ms. Shepherd is, I guess you got to replace a bridge if it's getting ready to fall down, regardless of how many cars go across it. But I tell you, those two bridges up there going up to the Moon and going up Nethers, I can't imagine that there's hardly any traffic on those things. But I guess what VDOT has determined that they are dangerous and getting ready to fall into the river.
Yeah, they're coming to the end of their useful life cycle.
Yeah. Well, there's
So-
two churches, once you go through Nethers, there's two churches on a real sharp curve. And there's a bridge right there, and they all call that the Moon.
We're all learning things. All right. Thank you. All right, keep going.
Okay,
The
next
Moon.
are
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
construction activities.
Take a ride up
I
there.
will.
So we have in the works Route 29 business sidewalk replacement. It's near the elementary school here, just right down the road. But we are waiting on school to let out so that we minimize impacts. And then as far as our rural rustics, we've been working on Desert Road Phase 2. We are complete with both of those, and so our next step is paving. We expect that to occur later this summer. And traffic engineering, we had a request to do a speed study on 621 Beautiful Run Road. After review, the traffic volumes were found to be very low, and there was a lack of crashes to warrant a speed study. So no speed study at this time. We did do a signage review, though, and so we will be replacing some missing chevrons, or they've been reinstalled, but some missing chevrons out there, and we did a comprehensive review, and the rest of the signs are appropriate. And that wraps up the quarterly presentation. I can pause here for general questions
All right.
before I get to.
The only one we've got a request for, and Ms. Warren's going to keep me straight on this, is Ayla Road and 231 about a safety study down there. What do we need to do to get y'all to do that? We've seen 4 deaths in the last couple of years. It's got some issues.
We are aware, and after any fatality, we do a review. So that's kind of already in the works right now, and I was kind of aware that you would
Yep.
probably be interested in that. So nothing formal is needed on your behalf. We'll just go ahead and look into that ourselves to see if there's anything from VDOT standpoint, maintenance or otherwise, that we can do to improve that area.
When do you think you're probably going to have a report on that one?
It shouldn't take too long, a couple weeks to a month max.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that
Thank you.
reasonable?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Am I missing any, what other ones am I missing, Miss Warren, on quarterly, not 6-year?
We're talking about the VDOT.
Yeah.
No, that's correct. So the 6-year plan, and then that was the only new business item, was the letter that we received. Correct.
All right, other questions on quarterly random things pertaining to VDOT? All right, let's go 6-year plan.
Perfect.
We're all excited.
So this is a recap from what Ed presented last month. This first sheet is just your allocations for the next 6 years. Stays pretty standard, or pretty consistent throughout those years, goes up a little bit. And then if you go to the next slide, this is what is your current priorities that's in the draft plan right now. So Desert Road, Phase 2 will be fully funded as of this July. We have Emmett Road, which will become fully funded next July, and then we have Whippoorwill, which is a considerable amount, took a couple of years to get fully funded, and then we have Walker's Mill and Turner Drive in the outer years, with unallocated funds in fiscal year 28 and 29 to be programmed in the future. And then the next slide, to build on the unallocated funds, it was a little too late this year to start reviewing to add them, but that's okay, because we have next year. So we were asked to look at these routes, these 8. The first 6 were recommended by our maintenance crew as areas that, could potentially save some maintenance headaches, additional gravel that washes off, things like that. And then we were also asked to look at Clore Road and Tussey Road. So right now, we're reviewing those. Throughout the year, we will come back and give you recommendations on whether those meet the criteria or not. And then next year, we'll be in a good place to then add as you see fit.
The only one that I know you and Mr. Weekly have been talking about, or Ed and Mr. Weekly have been talking about, sounds like daily, the second piece of Turner Drive and the potential easement. I understand there's one neighbor that doesn't have an interest in expanding the road, but it sounds like on the opposing side of the road, that person does, and would grant the easement. And what can you tell us about that? I mean,
So I think that's correct. That was the last kind of update that we heard.
There you go.
So I think the idea now is to investigate a realignment of the road. The only, things that I'll caution about that is that cost is just steadily increasing with the realignment. So we have to consider, a transition for both, front and back of that might require more property, and then just building up the road in general from base to top. And then, of course, the drainage is going to have to be addressed. So I just caution that cost is going up, but at this point, all we ask to move forward is for the county to obtain approval or agreement from those property owners to donate their property. And once we have that, then we can.
yeah,
move forward.
why is it us? We've never done this. And normally it is y'all. I mean, has it switched on us?
No, I mean, we've been talking to Mr. Weekly about this, and it would be to pursue this project and kind of continue the design and engineering. We would need that, and that is not something that we would be able to go obtain. So we can do the recordation and we can do the surveying, but we just ask that the county help us get the agreement from the owners, and then we will take it from there and do the actual legal paperwork.
You ever done that before, Sean Gregg? Oh, good. There you go. All right. No, you shouldn't. All right.
I can, if you'd like, I can tell you how it works.
Yeah.
You kind of run into a free rider problem, but you kind of rely on peer pressures in the neighborhood to try to get people to donate the land that is necessary. Typically, in a situation like this, if the property owners are not willing to give their land for it, the project doesn't get built. And that's, I think it's kind of structured that way, so that you have complete agreement.
Will you talk to Mr. Weekly and Hannon, of course, try to see if we can get that process going so that they can at least explore the path?
Typically, it begins with a letter to all of the landowners and the people who use it.
There you go. Then we can at least try to evaluate what the cost will be and see if it is something to add on the road. All right. Well, all right. Where do you want to go now? Public hearing?
That's perfect.
All right.
Yeah, I got,
Yeah, go ahead. I got one more too.
so, who's controlling the slides? You, Jim? Well, you go back to the second slide that shows their estimated allocations. Yeah, that right there. So I'm going to frame my questions in the interest of informing the public when in fact I don't know this. So telefee monies come from where? What? I mean, $37,000. I don't know. You can't even clean out a ditch with $37,000 much. But where where does the telefee money come from, and how is it calculated?
I don't know how it's calculated, but where it comes from what I understand, it's like long-standing agreements with like communications
Okay.
Companies and
That's
things
right.
like
That-
that.
Okay, and what about the district grant unpaved, those monies?
That
Do
is
you-
based on your mileage of unpaved roads.
Of unpaved roads. Okay. So this slide here shows the entirety of the funds available to accomplish the work on the next slide. Is that true? So and I heard you say it took a while for Whippoorwill, so we got to roll these funds forward. So I mean, 368,000 going out. That's not much money. So
No, that is a lot of money, but it is not a lot of money to VDOT.
Right.
Yes.
we can't accomplish much with
That
that
is
money.
correct.
So some of those district grant unpaid funds, is that what got rolled forward in order to get the funds needed for Whippoorwill, say? Is that the way that works?
The district grant funds is all of that money. That money is what is fueling your program.
Okay.
Completely.
So we had to use a couple of years' worth of money to get the Whippoorwill
Yeah.
$552,000.
And, and,
Phew.
and all those
I won't
funds
be
come-
here to
No,
see any of
it's not
this.
looking good for you. But these funds have to compound all the way till the total cost is put together, and then they can start the work, correct?
Yes.
Or sort of a couple years after
For the
that?
most part. I mean, if we're 80% funded, I mean, and we're pretty sure, we get a resolution from the county, I don't have a problem starting.
All right, that's positive.
Can go.
All right, that was a good question. Anybody else got questions? I want to go down one real quick just before we kick off, and unseen this. I'm going to do a terrible job. Gavira? Yeah, Viria, thank you. Talking about Clore Road and then River Road. We understand Clore Road, it doesn't have the traffic count, is that correct? Also, we were talking to Miss Warren down here, and she's saying that River Road's in terrible shape as well, that's connecting. Is that right? Anybody been down River? Real bad? Yeah, there you go. Real bad back there? Yeah. Yeah, real bad. Probably should see if we could get somebody to work on that, maybe.
There you go. We were talking about that earlier.
Is everybody on Clore Road on a mule or something? I mean, well, that drags the tires. All right, so, yes, sure. Wait, let's open the public hearing. Yeah, or you can pass it around or stand up or whatever you want to do. It's not very important.
So my name is Carrie Gaviria, and I am a resident of Floor Road. Right now, we operate an Airbnb on Floor, but we plan to permanently live there soon. I wanted to make sure that you guys received the petition with the signatures. So everybody that lives on the gravel side of Floor Road has agreed that this is something that needs to happen, much less River Road. River Road's terrible. I wanted to request that you retest the limit, and I also wanted you to keep in mind that what I'm trying to do, at least on my property, Tracy, is drive tourism. We're looking at, we have a functioning Airbnb. I'm rented, excuse me. I'm rented every, maybe 86% of the time as of right now. I'm also looking at putting in 2 or 3 campsites through Hip Camp. And I'm also looking at starting an experience through Airbnb to kayak the Robinson. So I recently put in a gravel road to the Robinson, so now we have river access. And that was the first start of creating this experience. So I'm trying to drive more people down the road, but I'm highly concerned and trying to be proactive about the elderly folks that live on that side of the road. There is a ton of foot traffic as people walk to the river now that they have gravel access. So just trying to be proactive and get in front of it. I recognize that it might not meet the threshold today, but if you tell me when we're going to test this thing.
Yeah, my farm crew does that.
We can hit that limit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And you probably need to talk to Ligon about a special use permit. All right, what do we need to do, Miss Shepherd, to get them to rerun the road count test? All right, y'all want to go down that path? Let's do that. Don't tell her. And the number goes up dramatically. All right. Other public comment on the 6-year plan? Yes, sir, please. All right. Other public, yes, sir. Other public comment? Yes, sir.
I'm a resident of Woodland Hall Road on 721. And in the 80s, it was in the 6-year budget to fix our road, but it got passed over some way. And since the 80s, the traffic has dramatically increased on that road.
Yes, sir.
It's only a half mile long, so it's not really that big of a project.
I thought,
But,
yeah, it's on the list, isn't it?
the last couple of months, I went around to every resident that lives on that road.
Sure.
And they signed their agreement. Everyone was in unanimous agreement to have that road worked on. And I could say that it really does need work on because it always stays a mess. It's such a high volume of traffic on that road for some reason or other. There are always FedEx and UPS trucks bringing deliveries and people. The mail carrier comes in, the bus now goes in and out, and emergency vehicles have to come in there. And it's a road that really does need some improvement done. If it's no more than just a car and gravel and good earth. The maintenance on it now is terrible. There's no disconnect being done, no rerouting, and all it ever gets straight. And talking to the other residents on 721, if they were all here, some are here. Mr. Weaver's here, Darlene, and Mr. Neff are here. And we're seriously, the way I understood you to say that this is not even included in the next 6-year budget. Is that correct? Or not?
Your name, sir?
Russell Allen.
Thank you.
Is 721 included in the next 6 years?
Not currently, but please, Ms. Shepherd.
No, it's not currently listed on the plan.
Go back to that
Yeah,
slide.
go
These
down.
priorities
Other
are-
way.
Other way, yeah.
This,
These
right there.
priorities are set by the board. So
and
they're-
the two on this though, and it is set by the board, but Woodward Hollow, we got your petition with all the signatures on it. And doesn't it need studying prior to be put on the plan? Wasn't that the story?
Correct. We need a chance to review it to make sure that it fits the minimum criteria.
Yes.
And then we'll come back and report the findings for your consideration.
All right. That sort of answers your question, sort of. The other component, well, we need to do some maintenance to Woodward Hollow. Can we?
I got it noted.
That's what we need to be doing. So we should be able to get some, Mr. Alger, we should be able to get some maintenance done up there for sure. But the 6-year plan, she'll review, and then we potentially put it on there this upcoming year. I'll pass the microphone over to him. Thank you, Tracy.
Well, they had the money in 1988 and 89 when they fixed Weaver Hollow Road by my house. And it's supposed to come back in 89, but the fix the road in Woodland Hollow. For some reason, they took the money somewhere else. And they never did come back to fix the road. And that was the end of it. That took off the 6-year plan. I don't know why all that happened.
What's your name, sir? Yes, thank you, ma'am.
I'm 93 years old almost, and it's been 35 years instead of 20 that what they had on the paper.
It would have been the,
Every time I see someone ask them about the road, they say it's in the plan. Come to find out, it wasn't never, and it wasn't done away with.
so first I'm hearing about it, but well, let's go through some testing and get some maintenance done out there, and then we can add it back to it and get something done. Doesn't George Weaver live at this road? I mean, y'all aren't talking to George. I mean, he drives the grader and everything. I'd talk to George. He's a man of action. Anybody, who else has public comment? 6-year plan, public comment. Anybody watching? All right, so essentially it looks like we need to do some investigations on Woodward Hollow and some maintenance. We need to do, you all are coming back to top the Desert Road. And then we're gonna rerun the traffic count on Clore and River Road.
You want me to do a traffic count on River Road too? Or address the maintenance? So maintenance is what I have written.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you mean you can't go down it? It's a public road, right?
It's fine.
Yeah. Yes, anti-sedan. All right, so we need to work on that. All right. Any other public comment? Back to the board. What would y'all, comments, thoughts, questions, where would y'all like to go here?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution 2023-5, which adopts the 6-year plan for the secondary roads.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much, Ms. Shepherd. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and we'll see if we can get something
So,
done.
Ms. Shepherd, do you all come back here monthly or quarterly well, we might want to get a report a little sooner on the intersection, well, on a lot of the stuff that we've discussed this evening. If you could communicate it to Jonathan and then have him, so we can have it for information and correspondence or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you.
All right, we've done the public hearing, we're done with the old business, we've adopted the 6-year plan on the new business. We've talked about the safety concern at Ayler and 231. Anybody else have any old business, new business? All right, information and correspondence. Ms. Warren?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a public hearing scheduled for May 23rd, and at that public hearing, we're going to be addressing 3 different topics. One is the sign ordinance amendment, also the Article 4, Section 4.3 Amendment, 3 acres per use, and the third topic for the public hearing on May 23rd is the radio tower easement and lease agreements.
Anybody have any questions, thoughts? Everybody good on these? Please.
So so for the 3 acres per use, we're going to have that amendment to the ordinance ready to go and approved that night,
Yes,
as
sir.
opposed to the radio tower easement is simply discussion, information.
The radio tower easement is not legally, we really don't have to do it. It's a big thing for a new tower to go up in an area like Etlin. We want to hear from everybody. We know that the potential approval will be on June 7th with the joint meeting for the Planning Commission and the board. This one's one just to hear from the public and make sure everybody's good to go with this.
I was going to add, we'll have to go out Friday.
Ryan got everything to me from the contractor, so I will put in the notice that there's a workshop next week for the planning commission, which you can talk about it. And you can also come on the 23rd, that's at 6 o'clock, I believe.
That's correct.
Talk about it again, but the actual hearing is on June 7th.
All right, 3 strike deal.
That's it.
Yeah, that's good. Good. So we've got those. Should be a pretty eventful evening on the 23rd. Anything else, Ms. Warren?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Anybody else up here? Public comment. Public comment. We don't have anybody? Is anybody watching us? No, I asked first. We do public comment like 4 or 5 times here. Ah, good. Glad to have them. Public comment's over. We don't have a closed session. What would y'all like to do?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, that's the name of the game. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank y'all.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
What the hell are they not doing maintenance on a state road for?
Yeah, like the River Road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I went down it about, I don't know, a month and a half ago. I was out that way. I guess I'd gone by and talked to Troy. Where
Yeah,
it was
there you
like,
go.
shit, I'm gonna go down it. It's like, you know. Yeah, it's,
Yeah, dicey. Yeah. It's okay. It's an adventure.
We had a range of grandkids from 8 to, great nephews to 31. And the thing is, the older kids, they're so much louder than the little kids.